Moving on, let me invite Robert Coate up, please, from the Center for English as a Second Language.
The final award is Excellence in Global Service. This year's winner is a recent U of A graduate who has accomplished a great deal of humanitarian work in a very short amount of time. Upon graduating, she volunteered and then was hired by the U of A Binational Migration Institute, or BMI. At BMI, she helped coordinate a project funded by the U.S. Justice Department to develop a protocol for standardization, identification, and examination of undocumented border crossers' remains along the U.S.-Mexico border. She has traveled to dozens of counties to collect data and co-authored a best practices handbook that is now being used in expert training for forensic professionals throughout the region who struggle with the challenges of processing human remains along the border. Prior to this work, there was no way to share information across multiple databases and jurisdictions to help match missing persons reports with forensic data. In 2013, with other volunteers of the Missing Migrant Project, she co-founded the Colibri Center for Human Rights in Tucson, where she is now program manager. The center works to identify and repatriate human remains found in the southern Arizona deserts, train forensic professionals across the border region, and help educate the public on the human cost of our program manager at the center. She coordinates communication with the families of missing migrants. She takes descriptions of missing loved ones, correlates that information with forensic databases, and often has to break the tragic news to the relatives. She also coordinates with international forensic teams, including Mexican and Argentine scientists based in Mexico City, and with coroners and forensic specialists throughout the border region. She supervises Colibri's internship program at the University of Arizona Honors College, and she gives dozens of public presentations a year to U of A classes, as well as community, professional, and activist groups throughout the Southwest. This month, she will travel to El Salvador to work with the Latin American specialists of the U.S. Department of Justice's Human Rights and Special Prosecution Section. The DOJ is organizing a major conference in El Salvador for Latin American judges and prosecutors focusing on human smuggling rings. She has been invited to give an overview of human rights along the U.S.-Mexico border. Please join me in congratulating this year's Excellence in Global Service, Ms. Chelsea Halstead.
Thank you to everyone at the Center for English as a Second Language and the Office of Global Initiatives for this honor. I want to especially thank Drs. Liz Oglesby and Sally Marston for nominating me, but more importantly for being incredible mentors throughout my undergraduate career and long after. Liz is here and she really deserves her own award, not only for mentoring students, but also for embodying service and commitment to social justice in every sense of the word. She's right there and she deserves her own award. And for the vital work that they've done in the midst of this disaster of death and disappearance on our border. Particularly Dr. Bruce Anderson, a forensic anthropologist who goes above and beyond what is required of him every single day in order to try and bring families peace. My biggest thanks goes to someone who cannot be here today because she is overseas advocating for change. Her name is Robin Reinecke, and without her, the Colibri Center for Human Rights wouldn't exist. Robin came to a class I was taking in 2010 and told us about the work she was doing at the Pima County Office of the Medical Examiner. She was painstakingly taking missing persons reports by hand, and she showed us a photo of a 13-year-old boy named Nelson who died in our desert here in Arizona trying to reach his mother in Phoenix. She explained how her work helped identify him. Robin spoke of identification, death, and disappearance in terms of human rights. She talked about how our wall and our border policies were killing people. She didn't know it at the time, but she changed my life forever on that day. She sparked within me, as she has in countless others, a call to action. Her passion to uphold the human rights of all people is an inspiration to everyone at Colibri. The University of Arizona has a new marketing campaign. I'm sure many of you have seen it. It goes like this: bigger questions, better answers, bear down. I'd like for everyone in this room to ask themselves the bigger question when it comes to migrants dying in the desert. The question is this who we are? Is this who we want to be? Are we okay with the fact that over 6,000 men, women, and children have died needless, painful deaths in our backyard? I think the better answer here is no. We can do better. We can remember humanity before immigration status. We can care about one another. We can acknowledge that Mexico is Arizona's biggest trade partner. We can honor generations of circular migration and cultural exchange. And we can call each other to a higher standard. This month marks the 25th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall in Germany. Berlin residents are celebrating the end of almost 30 years of separation and violence. President Obama was in Germany last year, and while there he said, "No wall can stand against the yearning of justice, the yearning for freedom, the yearning for peace that burns in the human heart." Germany's wall stood for 28 years, yet to give some perspective, ours has stood for only 12, and has so far been 40 times more deadly than the Berlin Wall was during its entire tenure. In fact, more people have died trying to cross our border than in Hurricane Katrina and 9/11 combined. We are a country made up of mostly immigrants, and we are a country that values human life. I agree with President Obama, and I also believe that no wall can stand in the way of the human spirit. I see that demonstrated day after day in the stories of people like Luisa, who experienced extreme violence in her journey, but chose to cross anyway because she had to provide for her children. She hasn't been heard from since 2010. Or Gerardo, who was deported after living in Phoenix for more than 20 years and died as he tried to come back to his wife and children. At Colibri, we know the power these stories hold for change, and we believe our border can be different. Until that change comes, Robin and the rest of the Colibri team will be serving families who've lost someone in the desert while we advocate for change as witnesses to the true cost of our wall. In a court of law, a witness has incredible power. Their testimony can free someone from wrongful imprisonment or lock somebody away for years. I hope each and every one of you will consider your role as a witness to the tragedy happening on our border. Your testimony will join a growing chorus that has the power to end death and suffering on our border. Thank you.